Hello friends, I'm so excited about this week's vlog because I'm just gonna read a bunch of things that I want to read. This is my TBR shelf. Over here I have books that I'm gonna read for certain videos. Up here is books that I don't know, I plan to read at some point. These are library books, and these are books that I have bought this year. They're not going in my TBR closet, they're not being shoved away, they're sitting right here, they're looking me in the eye every day when I walk in and out of my room. And they're books that I bought for a reason, and they're books that I'm excited about. Specifically, from here to here, those like 20 books are brand new releases. These are 2026 things that I bought this year that I want to read this year. And this week's vlog is going to be about getting to, let's say, 5 of those. Now, when I go into a video without a real plan, I have a hard time choosing the books, so I already don't really know what I'm going to end up reading, except I have picked the first one. I just bought this one in my book shopping vlog where I had a spinner wheel choose where I spent my money and leave and come back. I got from the grocery store. This I'm just really hyped about. I want to get to. I keep looking at it. I walk by it and I'm like, oh my god, I need to read this, but I have so many other vlogs planned. So I actually pushed a couple themed vlogs so I could fit this video in. And this fits my tastes because if you don't know, I have this whole list of like specific tropes or micro tropes or just themes in books that I love to read. There's, I think at this point, like 20 of them. One of them that's been the longest standing is books about weddings. And this has to do with a whole long wedding week or month of events and a couple who's pretending they don't know each other. And then once her family starts to enjoy his company, she can admit that they're together. Like fake strangers sounds like a new favorite micro trope that I could have. So though there's not technically a theme this week, there kind of is because it's just books that I'm most excited about. You could call it 5-star predictions. You could call it a new release vlog. I'm trying to think of how I'm going to market this one, how I'm going to brand it for you. We could also call it like reading 5 books that fit into the list of things that I love, because I feel like almost all of these do. These ones play with time. These ones all have to do with death. This is that really specific one where it's about people who have like similar goals and motivations within their careers, but it's also historical, but it's also romance. Whatever I called that one, that like Emily Wilde and the Ornithologist Field Guide to Love fit into. These two aren't technically categories, but they're ones that I said could be categories in the future. Like if I read more books about reality shows that I love and I read more horror romance that I love, then those could be categories. This one has to do with wedding. This one has to do with books. These were more impulsive picks that I don't actually really know how they would fit. These are books that I got from Aardvark, so I technically didn't buy them. They were sent to me because I'm an affiliate with them. I don't know where they fit, but also I have 3 more Aardvark picks on their way to me. And one of them has to do with playing with time that I really want to read this month. I have too many books to choose from. I'm gonna put this shelf back together and I'm gonna start in on Leave and Come Back. And I'll let you know what I'm thinking when I'm thinking something. The sun is setting and I needed to come here and tell you about this while I still have some decent lighting. I've been putting off an update for hours because I wanted to tell you that I think the dialogue of this book is really bad. But I wanted to wait until it wasn't anymore. Because maybe like the book just needed to get its feet under it. What am I saying? Yeah, it's a frustrating reading experience because I don't feel any emotion behind what anyone is saying ever. It's all very cold. It's very stilted. It's very simple. And it's frustrating because the writing is actually beautiful. Like the exposition, the characters' thoughts, like it's wonderfully written. In fact, I'm highlighting things. Like from the very first page, I was highlighting things. It feels like, what would it, I don't know, like I've never seen Sex in the City, but I know that like it's narrated over top of. So think of like a show like that. It feels like that, where there are these beautiful thoughts about life just being narrated over like a montage. Like that's how it feels. It kicks off with first kisses, while important, get too much credit. It's second kisses that are the real magic. First kisses get all the glory, the dizzying delight of asking, will they or won't they? And then we get like a scene and then it returns to her inner thoughts about it. She says, The time between a first kiss and a second one is a liminal space. It happened once, but will it happen again? First kisses are about acknowledging. Second kisses are about choosing. And I was like, oh my God, I love that. In the Bollywood movies Simran loves so much, there's no shortage of what she thinks of as heroine songs, where the female lead and her hopes and dreams are introduced to the audience. There are anthems for plucky dreamers, bangers by self-assured sirens, and hymns from pure-hearted ingenues. But there are no songs for the world-weary survivalist returning to the site of her deepest grievances. And then we get into a scene. I just think it's so nice. But then any interaction between any of the characters just falls so flat. It's just really dry. And it's making me sad. I still really like the setup of this. I love the events, like the idea that these people are taking marriage and celebrating it for such a long period of time. And we have the love interest or the partner of Simran, Leo, and he's talking about that. He's like, and that's how he's getting in good with the family. There's moments where she's trying to convince him and other people are trying to convince him or like teach him how to get in good with people. But then there's also just authentic appreciation from him about how they're celebrating this wedding. And I love all of that. I love how the character's talking about her opinions and her like pushing up against the conservative Indian values that her family holds while still wanting to respect what the family wants. I think I just expected it to be a little more fun. Something that I love about fake dating books that I talk about endlessly is how it's organized and how there's a contract and it goes step by step and it's like we're in this scenario and then we have to do this scenario and then something happens here. And I want that from this, but 60% of the way in, that's just not really happening. There's moment by moment and we're moving through time, but it's not as fun. It's not a comedy of errors, which I feel like is how the book pitched itself at one point in the marketing. It doesn't really feel that fun. It just feels like we're gradually going through time. She's confronting all the things that she left behind because she now lives in America, or no, she moved to America, now she lives in Canada, and she's back with family she hasn't seen in a decade, and she's reconnecting with people and people don't want to reconnect with her, and it's all a mix of how people are responding to her and how she's reacting to everybody. And then we have Leo on the side who gets his own chapters, and he is meeting with various family members. Like there's one person who's in on it with them and is trying to help him out, and it's just much more sentimental and like connection focused than fun and silly, which is what I was hoping for and what I was looking for. It's definitely not a bad book. I just feel like it's going to end up being in the 3s, but anything could happen here. But I feel like with the setup that we've gotten, it's just going to be more warm and inviting of them getting to know him and being like, hey Simran, maybe you should be with this guy. And then she's gonna be like, I already am. And then there's gonna be that moment where people are betrayed because they didn't know, and then they're gonna reject him again, but then it's all gonna work out in the end. And I'm okay with some predictability if I'm having a great time. And I'm just having a fine time. Okay, I have completed Leave and Come Back by Lavanya Lakshmi, and I thought it was fine. I thought it was good enough to finish. I'm giving it a 3. I would definitely read another book from this author, see what she comes out with next. I think depending on what direction she goes in, because if we go funnier and quirkier, and more romantic, or not romantic, but like relationship focused, I'd pick up another one. If she goes more in the family drama and it's marketed properly as a family drama, I might not, just because I found it kind of exhausting constantly talking about the dynamic between people and remembering how the dynamic used to be and how it got ruined and how they can fix it and how they're like clashing constantly. Like that was the whole book. Within that, there were plenty of things that were interesting to explore. Simran coming up against like having different values, and there's a lot of older people in the family, younger people in the family, and even the people getting married. Plenty of other people are talking about different generations' thoughts on tradition. I always say established relationships before the book begins is always a hard sell for me. I don't know why these people got together in the first place. I don't get too much of their background. We don't have any flashbacks seeing how they got together or what their relationship was. We kick off the book with them just starting things up, and we can definitely see how appealing he is as a partner for her and the way that he is open and just has this beautiful view of the world. And Simran He's corny as hell, for sure, but at least he has a personality. Simran, even from the chapters focused on Leo, I didn't get a sense of why he was interested in her and what their relationship was like and how this came to be. He was very loving and constantly said he loved her, but we don't really see any of that. And in fact, I don't think Simran is very nice to him throughout the book. There, of course, was just no tension. There was no buildup. There was no romance, really. They had a couple moments together, but mostly it was Simran and her family, and it was him and her family. The relationship might have been the catalyst for the plot, but the story was not focused on them. As far as funny moments, there were a couple in the latter half. There was a moment in the hospital. I could see people chuckling along with this book at various points. I didn't. And the ending is meant to feel kind of like lighthearted and also heartwarming at the same time. But I actually really don't like the ending. This ultimately is about a messy but loving family. A lot of people are going to connect with it. A lot of people are going to see themselves within it. A lot of people are going to get something out of this. It's just not what I hoped it to be. I need to stop rambling and get on to the next book. I love summer. I just love summer, but it's so hard to, like, as a, self-employed person, to stick with a routine, to like stay motivated. Cause like I have a teenager home in the summertime and he wants to do stuff like every day, and I want to go do stuff, and like I can. I'm so grateful every single day for what I get to do. And I just went on like a week-long trip and it didn't disrupt anything. Like I made it work and it was so good. And now like getting back into a daily routine is really tough. So what we decided to do, well, it's for me because I wanted to get into a routine, and for Liam because he's been talking about joining the gym, and we live in a small town and there's only a couple gyms and you have to be 16 to join. So he's been talking about joining the gym for years, and he's been like waiting to turn 16 so he can join the gym. That and getting his license have just been like this thing that he's constantly thinking about and talking about. And so today we just got gym memberships at a new gym, and that's our new routine. But he's a teenager, so he also wants to sleep in until like noon, and that's just not gonna work for me because today I just felt like I was kind of sitting around like waiting for him to get up and then we could go, when like I could have been working. But it's like kind of like when you have an appointment kind of early in the morning, but not early enough that like you should be getting stuff done, and then you just can't stop thinking about, well, I can't do anything because I have that one appointment. That's how I was today, and so I need to fix that, or we need to go earlier, because doing our gym stuff like at lunchtime is just gonna throw off my whole work day that I'm trying to stick with. And then now he has his L, so he wants to drive around after, and that's so fun. And then, he wants to go fishing later, and we want to go to the beach. And so every day we're probably gonna be doing something, but I have to make sure all of my other responsibilities are also checked off. So I decided to listen to an audiobook while I was on the treadmill. I just walked for 45 minutes. He was off doing whatever. I'm not ready to go into the machine part of the gym. I don't know what's over there. It scares me. I don't know how to use anything. I don't want to look stupid. I just hop on the little treadmill and I do my little walk. And it was nicer than doing my walk outside. And like, I'm an outside girl, but it is getting hot. And sometimes like halfway through my walk, I want to stop my walk, but now I'm so far from home, I have to complete my walk, which is good, but also when it just gets way too hot and then I realize I don't have sunscreen on. So now I'm walking inside, which I like more than I thought I would, because also I can't even wear sunscreen right now, which I need to talk to you about as soon as I go pick up another sunscreen to try, because the sunscreen that I found 2 years ago, the only sunscreen that I'm not allergic to, they changed the formula and I'm now allergic to it. So I literally can't, I'm just getting sunburned every day. Anyway, I had the audiobook for an arc from Libro FM for one of my most anticipated reads of the year, Destination Funeral. So I started that at the gym and I really like it so far. Paige Harbison, it's funny because I put Destination Funeral on my most anticipated 26 reads of 2026 before I had even read this. I didn't even know it was by the same author. And then I read this earlier this year and I loved it, gave it 5 stars. And then I just immediately have like another new release from an author that I've suddenly just fallen in love with. It's just so perfect. So this story is about these 4 characters. We have sisters and we have a friend and love interest. And they're this group who were best friends, hanging out all the time when they were teenagers. Something made them fall out with each other, including the siblings. And now, I can't remember how long late, maybe it's been like a decade. The siblings' mother, the sisters, has died, and she left the house to all four of them. So now they have to spend, it's like that classic inheritance situation where for no reason they'll have to spend time in the house together and then decide what to do with the house together, and they'll have to agree. But I remember when I read the description, I haven't gotten here yet, I'm like 20% of the way, actually I have no idea, I just made that up, through the book. Let's see where I'm actually at. It's definitely speculative, and that hasn't been introduced yet. Yeah, okay, I'm 24% of the way through it. And I think they get stuck in a time loop. I'm pretty sure this is that book, but nothing like that has been introduced at all. So now I'm starting to think, is it more like metaphorically they're stuck in time, as in like they have to behave like their teenage selves again because that like their friendship and relationships like bring that out on each other? But no, because this is time travel or alternate dimensions. Like I'm pretty sure we're gonna go through time, and I can't wait. I like all the characters already. There's a little maybe budding relationship happening, and I love Paige Harbison's just like kind of simple writing style, because when you have a book that has to do with time travel and time loops and crazy concepts, sometimes they can get really cerebral. Sometimes they can get really highbrow, they can get really complex, and this author, at least in the book that I've read, and what I'm assuming is going to be in this one, it's just more of a simplistic story. It's like, it just works because it works, and the takeaways at the end are going to be the ones you expect from the beginning, and it's just a straightforward story, and sometimes I'm really in the mood for that. And while I was in the gym, especially because like it's just like a cement wall, the Stairmaster and the treadmills are just right in front of cement, so there's like nothing to look at, there's nothing to do, so I really needed a good engaging audiobook, and I found it. So I'm gonna keep listening because the physical book isn't even out yet. I think it comes out next week, so only a couple days after you're gonna see this vlog. I really like it so far, and Paige Harbison narrates it herself, and I quite like her narration, so having a good time. Quick update, I'm halfway through my audiobook, and I'm gonna continue while they fish. The boys didn't catch any fish, but we're home now, and I'm gonna finish my book. It's feeling like a 4-star, just under a 4-star. I'm finding myself a little unsatisfied, and I think it's gonna wrap up now a little too quickly and a little too nicely. And I wonder if I would prefer if we weren't with the characters through every single time loop. Like maybe if we were flash forwarding like a week or a couple weeks, and they were like, now that we've been in the time loop this long, this is how we all feel, and these are the conversations that we've had. But the nature of this kind of story is about confronting things that you didn't say, having another opportunity to do things over and make the right decision. Kind of by the end of the trip, it's like, did I say everything that I wanted to say? Did I get closure in every way that I wanted closure? And in order to get there, we have to witness a lot of turmoil. And we're not just in the current time loop, like we're also just flashing back, and every chapter is a year before or every summer after. I haven't read that, but I tried watching the show. I didn't like it. Where like we go back 1 summer ago, 2 summers ago, 3 summers ago. And I like those chapters, getting an insight into things that were going on. And the current time loop stuff, I'm just getting a little bit bored of. And I usually love repetition. And I love when the characters are like, okay, well, let's try to push and see how this time loop happened, how we can break it. What if we stayed up all night? Like the typical things that you are gonna try out when you figure out you're in the time loop. So I feel like the balance between each chapter isn't my favorite. I'm not totally sure why I'm not obsessed with this. I would say the same thing about the character, main character, as I did about the last book that I read, that it's hard to get on board with her. And if you're somebody who has to love a main character and really connect, I don't know that this is the one, because she's not necessarily the nicest to everyone. But that's the point of the book, is also that she's like grappling with things that have happened and like trying to tap back into her emotions, because she's a little bit cold to everybody. She's fallen out with a lot of people, and she has some inner work to do. But so does everybody, and it feels kind of like an ensemble. I would almost compare it to Happy Place by Emily Henry. Like all the characters feel really strong. We see lots of interactions between everybody, but then there is a lot of drama. Like this is not like a nostalgic kind of warm, heartwarming read that I thought, and again, just like with the last book, I thought this would be more fun, but it is steeped in grief, so I shouldn't have had that expectation. And when we're flashing back to certain moments, like they're heavy and they're difficult, and like your parent prioritizing or preferring your sibling over you, and just the difficult things these sisters are dealing with. If you love sister stories, this could definitely work for you. I think it's all just a little heavier than I want it to be, but it makes sense. So that's where I'm at. Good morning, good morning. I did intend to finish that book last night, and I went to bed with 17 minutes left on the audiobook. That's how not super invested I was by the end. But I finished it this morning on the treadmill. Day number 2 of consistency. And I started this whole thing on my period, which I just think is really brave of me. I have a package. It seems really skinny and I don't know what it is. At the end of last year for Christmas, I got a gift card, and I guess I pre-ordered things because they've been showing up. And I don't know what this one is. Like, I have absolutely no idea what it would be. It seems really small. And I hope it's not something that I already went and bought in person, because that has happened to me twice now. But because this website, like their pre-orders changed and like you can't see your old orders anymore, they're fixing it, I guess. But I have like, oh my God, no idea what this could be. So let's find out together. Okay, it's Slasher Summer, which I do already own, but it's because the publisher sent it to me. Oh yeah, the publisher sent this to me, and I'm definitely supposed to read it. And now it's already out. Well, I got an ARC, so that means I'm supposed to read it before it comes out. Whoopsie doodles. It's because I put it on the wrong part of my bookshelf. You know what we'll do? Actually, let's just read this today, because I do need to switch up the genres. I was going to pick up like Romantic Hero or Every Version of You, because I think that comes out today on audio, and then I wouldn't have to wait for the physical copy to arrive, which I think is coming on Friday from Aardvark. And I just got accepted into this like Libby influencer program. I don't even know what I'm supposed to do for it. I was on their podcast last year. It was really fun. And then they sent me this form. They were like, do you want to be a part of the Libby, what was it called? Libby Insiders? I don't get paid for it. I don't have an affiliate link. Like, there's nothing I'm actually doing. They just gave me a link to this like different library. You know, when you log into Libby and you can choose a library, I chose like the Libby library with like a little secret password, and I have access to all the books I've ever wanted, like ones that my library does not have, or when they bring in audiobooks, like it takes weeks to actually have them in. Like, look what I grabbed. I got Romantic Hero. Oh yeah, I got Every Version of You, so I already have that. They had Dead But Dreaming of Electric Sheep just like ready to reserve with no wait, and this is my book club pick, so I was gonna buy the audiobook like this week. I got For the Bride. Also got Die For Me, which is another one that's coming to me on Friday. And then this one doesn't even have a cover, The Sea Hides Its Dead, which I think came out today. There's no picture, but like the audiobook for this is long. So I don't know what I did to get invited to this, or like what I'm supposed to do. I already promote Libby more than like anything else, and I guess they just like me. Oh, I need to review the other book. I do think if you read The Other Side of Now, which I think a couple of people picked up based on my recommendation, and you thought it was just like a little cheesy and simplistic, this one isn't going to be any less that. In fact, I think it's more that. It's like feel good, it's heartwarming by the end, everything works out for everybody obviously, but there is a lot of turmoil to get there, and you know me and just having to read like people arguing for many pages. Oh, and literally right after I said I think we should jump through time a little bit, we did get that. We got a kind of montage feeling scene that was like, and then this, and then this, and then this. And something that I really like about time loop stories is, actually, you know, I like all time loop stories. So I do like when somebody is in it alone, but I also, maybe more so, like when there's a group of people and they're all in it together, and it's not like one person who's struggling and they have to let people know one by one and have to find people to figure it out with them. It's like everyone right away, all 4 of them are experiencing it, recognize it, and they're like, okay, we're gonna work together, like figure this out. In this one, it wasn't so much about figuring out the time loop. Like they obviously wanted to, but at some point they just decided to appreciate their time together. There was one steamy scene. It was brief, but it was really good. This isn't a romance. It was more about sadness and grief. It's the next day. I read the entirety of Slasher Summer, and I didn't have a single thing to say throughout the entire 280 pages of this. And I'm I don't want to be mean. I'm glad I didn't pick this as a literary book club option because it was on my radar. And then I very lovingly had a couple people tell me that like, this might not be the best pick because I don't know, there just isn't that much substance. Like it really is just a slasher, not to take away from that genre or like trope or whatever, but it doesn't delve much deeper than being kind of a parody satire of a slasher. So all of the characters in it have their names. The 7 people are all like Michael and Jason and Carrie, like classic movie killers. And I think at this point I would really, really struggle with trying to build a live show discussion for this. Like, I don't know what on earth I would ask more than just like, who did you think was responsible? And I feel like it's pretty predictable who's responsible. But there's a couple different, not plot lines, I don't know, there's a couple different activities that go on that maybe you couldn't see coming. I just thought that this was fine, and it's my 3rd book in a row that I'm giving 3 stars. And so now the video has turned into like a 5-star hunt, like desperate. I can't end the video until I find something that's a win. I've had a range of 3 stars. I had a 3, a 3, and a 3.5. But I came home after the gym today, which Liam drove us to. Sweet baby Liam driving the vehicle. It's crazy. To an Aardvark box. And so all my books are here, which is fun because I started listening to the audiobook of one of these. Actually, no, I started listening to both of the ones that I was considering while I was on the treadmill. And I was thinking about which one grabbed my attention the most. That's the one I would continue. And I did. And in fact, I'm 30% into it. But to give this more of a fair review first, because this is an arc that was sent to me, the way I would describe it is there are 7 characters. They're all from very different backgrounds, very different friend groups, and they connect over their love of horror films. They get together, they talk about horror films, they go places maybe they shouldn't. And there was something filmed, like this kind of Scream or I Know What You Did Last Summer-esque movie franchise filmed near them. And so it's like a part of their town, and they even reference like other towns that are similar, like how they're not quite like Forks, Washington, who puts on like the Twilight Festival every year. They're a little bit lesser known, but people still want to come there and rent this cabin and stuff. And so years later, I don't remember how many years later, I think they're all in their like early 20s, and they knew each other in high school. Something has separated them all, and now they're coming back together for this reunion at this house. And we have like the jock, and we have the cheerleader, and we have the nerdier person and the class president or whatever. It took the first, I think, 1/3 of the book for them all to even arrive at the cabin together. And then probably it was halfway through before there was any semblance of action. So it was a pretty slow burn. The writing was fine, definitely nothing wrong with that. Setting up scenes, the dialogue, the interactions, like everything was easy to read and understand and connect to. It just didn't have very much substance other than constantly reiterating like different movie like kind of quotes, villains, tropes, and like how they don't have this, and how if this were a movie this would be happening, and like how there's a killer clearly in and amongst the group, and how if the way that they're behaving is accurate to the movie, and if they're trying to recreate this movie, like how well they're doing at it. It was a very intentionally meta referential book, which I love the idea of for sure. And in fact, that's one of my categories in my list of 20 things, which I've been wanting to pull up this entire time and like show you the updates and where I'm organizing things. But I need to find a book that can be put into one of these categories, and I can only put like things that I gave like more than 4 stars on the list. So it was a self-aware, like kind of parody, but it wasn't quite a parody. It wasn't quite like Scary Movie. It was more like The Final Girls. I watched that as a members movie night, and it was an interesting time. It was like campy and cringe in that way, but it felt like it was supposed to be that. So I don't want to give that like, I don't want to say that's like a negative attribute. There was definitely like villainous monologues and over explaining why they were doing what they were doing and their life story and stuff, but it fit with what the book wanted to be. I just didn't enjoy it the way that I really wanted to. I will certainly pick up more E.L. Chen. I'm interested to see what else she'll do. There are so many books that turn into supernatural horror, speculative horror, like they're not in reality. There's not that many books that are like traditionally published, that are widely accessible, that are just about like somebody killing people. And we need more of that. So I like her in this genre. I just need a little more substance for sure. So that's that on that, and let's move on to my aardvark box, which I am an affiliate for. So I pick what books I want every month. I don't have to get any, but obviously if they have a good book box, I'm going to indulge, and I'm gonna let you know that they sent me these. But I had actually already pre-ordered, yeah, both of these, so I just canceled my pre-order for them. In fact, I just got an email saying that my pre-orders weren't gonna ship in a timely manner like they're supposed to. So anyway, very excited that Aardvark picked a couple books, in fact picked multiple books this month that I already wanted. I already own Deb, A Dream of Electric Sheep, but that's another one for the month. And then I also grabbed Fabulous Bodies, which I have an audio arc of. So I probably wouldn't have purchased this with my like kind of mixed history with Chuck Tingle, but because it was being sent to me, I said yes, so I could give it a go. So I am gonna see if I can, probably I'll read that by the end of the month, just not in this video. And maybe I'll try to read both of these in this vlog, depending on how this one goes, because this is the one that I committed to. It's Die For Me by Shirlene Booby. And this one just kicked off really intriguing. I got 30% of the way through at the gym, and this is a pretty thick book, so I'm flying through it. I love the setup. We meet Sean, that's our main character, at a wedding. She's a doctor, and her doctor best friend's ex-husband, who's also a doctor, and they work together, he just gets remarried at the beginning of the book. And Sean attends because that's her friend, that's her coworker, but she's sending, you know, like information back to her best friend because she's very loyal to her best friend, and he's marrying another doctor in the hospital, and she has a best man at the wedding who makes a speech, and his name is Julian. His name's Julian, and he's like super hot and super well spoken and very assertive, and like comes on to her and then inserts himself into her life a little bit, and she's very on board. She's very interested in him. But I think maybe he can kind of like read her mind. I think he's a vampire based on this, but a third of the way into the book, there has been absolutely no mention of anything paranormal. But I think this is billed as a paranormal romance. I'm just wondering if perhaps it might disappoint people if they go into it hoping for that, because I remember when I ordered this on Aardvark, it said like, it only talked about the romance, and it said go into it like not knowing very much. So I fear that they fear people will pitch it as a paranormal romance, and then the paranormal romance girlies will go into it and be like, where's the paranormal? For me, I like it because I get to question. I'm like, okay, so what is everybody's motivations? Like, we have his best friend, who's this woman who's the doctor of the hospital, and the doctor ex-husband of her doctor best friend is acting a little bit differently now that they're married in the hospital. So I'm thinking like maybe those two are like vampires, and maybe he's like going after her originally because he just wants to get in on like the hospital, like her hospital life, and like steal blood or something, like while he's like visiting her at work. And she seems kind of a little bit compelled by him. Like there are certain moments where time goes by and she doesn't notice, or like she went one place to another without remembering how she got there, but she always remembers later. And so it's kind of chalked up to, oh, I'm just so passionate, I'm so in love, I'm so enamored with this man that like I can't even tell the time is moving. But in the back of my head, I'm like, it's because he's a vampire, he's fucking with you. And even if maybe he has some malicious reasons or like selfish vampire-y reasons to want to be with her, I think that we can tell he's actually just really into her and wants her so bad. And there's a couple of really steamy moments that don't go all the way, and in fact it's a little bit annoying because I think there was 3 different times where they almost got it on. Not that I want them to that early in the book, but they were interrupted in a really obnoxious way, and it feels like an inauthentic way to give us a slow burn while still love is very present at the same time. On their first date, he took her to this gallery. Turns out he's not just hot, he's super rich. If it stays romance, I'm in. This is like 400 pages. If it's just romance and just them like being so lusty over each other, that could get a little bit boring, but I am seated for it. If there's an introduction of not even like true paranormal, but I want a mystery. If I feel like this book is about to introduce a mystery, I don't know, I'm 150 pages in and something needs to happen. So if we do then get a mystery and there's a little bit of an action build to the plot, then I'm all in. I genuinely love the writing and I loved the setup. I feel like in the paranormal romance things that I have read, it's either a really young girl just being whisked into this paranormal world and she's very inexperienced and whatever, which is fine. Or it's an older woman who has been really like wronged. Like she's been through so much trauma, and this is her healing, is like having this paranormal being or supernatural something or monster like taking her in and making her feel like loved and comforted and like she truly belongs somewhere. And this doesn't feel like either of those two things. We just have this very self-assured woman who knows what she wants, is confident, and has this life that she's built for herself, and she loves it. We're also navigating though like the difficulty that she has to navigate in the medical world, being a Black woman, in the way that she's treated differently than her peers. Just every step of that first 150 pages was so like perfectly set up, and I feel a little bit worried that we're not gonna get like the great plot that I feel from here, but I do trust this author and I trust this book, and I think this could be incredible. Hello, it's midnight. Check out my flowers. I bought these from a little flower stand. There's one of them that smells really bad, but I don't know which one it is. Do you guys have a least favorite flower to smell and a favorite flower? Because one of my favorites is baby's breath, not in smell actually, but just in like the flower. It's my favorite flower. But people say it smells like pee. I don't smell that. The worst one, lilies. I think lilies smell horrible. Second thing, I got a package from Aerie. This is the first miss I've ever had from this store. Literally ever. Actually, maybe, oh, it's American Eagle. It's not Aerie. That makes more sense because there's something about my proportions in this shirt that do not make any fucking sense. And I feel like a linebacker. And I hate returning stuff. But maybe I'll go in the store and see if I can return it because I bought it online. I always get my jeans from there, but I guess I don't buy tops enough to know that the tops are not for me. I am 266 pages into my book and I like it, but wow, am I looking for a plot. There is no plot outside of her relationship with this man and her only just now wondering if he is an entity. There is nothing else happening, which is fine because it's a romance, but it's not really that romantic. It was lusty for a couple hundred pages, and now it's like a bummer, and it's gonna get romantic again for sure, but I just want it to be about something. Right now it feels like a 4. If it continues going where it's going, it's gonna be a 4, but the fact that I know this could be a 5. It could have been a 5 with a mystery element, with a murder, with like a little investigation, with like just like something else is bothering me. As far as fitting into things on my little list, my big list, of course, there's a category that's books about death, which at this point feels like a category I shouldn't even have because there are so many books about death, but this one really fits into the dream category more so than I could have ever known. And that's a really fun element of this. She's dreaming about him constantly, and maybe he's the one controlling those dreams. Good morning. It's another beautiful sunny day. It's supposed to be so sunny. I think we're gonna go to this like, not farmer's market. I guess kind of farmer's market, summer market later today. And maybe we'll end up at the beach because I have not been in the lake enough this summer. But first, it's the gym. And I'm going to finish, I think, the audiobook for Die For Me. I'm switching back to listening to it. I have 3 hours remaining. So we'll see if I can wrap it up. And I'm going to lift some weights while I'm doing that. And then Liam has a driving lesson and I have reading sprints for the channel members. So today is a busy day. I have no idea what book I'm going to start once I'm done this one, but that's the focus right now. I'm really interested to see how this is going to end. Definitely a 4. If there was more plot, this could have been a 5. I'm just going to post a video in August instead of doing it live because I think it'll just make more sense. I have to go. My husband has been hurt at work. I'm gonna go meet him at urgent care. Well, plans changed. We're not doing anything this evening because my husband cut his hand open at work. So we just spent a little bit of time in urgent care and he's all stitched up. And I did finish my book. So Die For Me, I'm giving 4 stars like I thought. And it was good. It was interesting. No issues with it. It just didn't like blow my mind. Wouldn't hesitate to recommend it to, I was gonna say anybody, but like maybe this isn't for like the actual paranormal romance community. Like I'm not totally sure. You'd have to check with them. But it gave a good amount of steam. It was an intriguing relationship, dynamic. There just wasn't enough like plot, but it didn't want to have plot. I had to cut my reading sprints short, so I'm not sure if I'm going to continue them now or continue them another day. But everything else that we were doing is canceled because Rob is hurt and she froze him, but part of it wasn't frozen. And looking at his face when she was putting the needle, I watched the whole thing. She was sewing up and she had to tie it and then like push on it to see if there was any blood coming out and needed to like do another stitch. I think he got 8. It was going to be 6 and then it just kept, yeah, and his van is like covered in blood because he got cut at work. He got like pinned between a hot water tank and a furnace. It like fell on him and it was really heavy and it crushed like in between his fingers, like split open, but not his like tendons or anything. So that was an interesting afternoon. Now he's just going to relax for the evening and perhaps the next like week, because she said he should not go to work. She put it in his whatever it's called, work safe BC thing, that he shouldn't go back for like 7 to 13 days. He literally only works for like 13 days and then he's off for 10 weeks for school. And he just got back from a week-long vacation. So like he had to stop back at work on the way home to tell them and give them information and like fill out all of this paperwork. I feel like they're not, I mean, obviously it's like whatever. If your employee gets hurt, you just got to deal with it. But they're not going to be stoked. Like he just took a week off and now he's going to be off. And now he can't work for the next, I guess we're going to be hanging out for the next week. We certainly veered from the original plan just a little bit. Read one of these, but then read another arc that should have been over here, to be fair. And then an aardvark book. So let's get back to this. Japanese Gothic, I want to read. Romantic hero, I want to read. For the Bride, I want to read. And Teddy Bears Never Die, I want to read. I do also really want to read Rules for the Summer, but this is just so big. Like, I just don't want to pick it up right now. I just don't think if I look at this, it's going to be 5 stars. And same with this one. But these two, actually specifically this one, but also if I'm being honest, every version of you I also see being 5 stars. Like these where there's time loops or there's like somebody coming out of a book. Lightly speculative romance, I do think could get 5 stars.
What's up, homies?
Rob's on painkillers.
No.
Show them your...
I got boo-boo.
A big boo-boo.
Happy Friday.
That was probably the worst thing you've ever felt, right?
Yeah, someone stitching your finger in a spot that wasn't numb was not great.
He almost cried. It was so sad.
He did not almost cry. Just wasn't enjoying it.
The look on your face was so sad. I was literally so sad.
I just wasn't expecting it.
So I've been really scared to go out in the sun for the last week, so I haven't
It's been scary.
really done it. Because I had that's probably the second worst allergic reaction I've ever had last week. In last week's vlog, I was wearing a lot of turtlenecks, so you couldn't see what was happening.
And it was weird because it felt like it wasn't as severe as far as like how much you were swelling,
yeah,
but how long it lasted was probably the longest.
And I was sleeping with like an ice pack against my body. So what happened was Blue Lizard changed their formula. I think for a couple different reasons. One of them, I believe they're trying to go vegan. And so there was a couple ingredients, like there's different things the different ingredients do in sunscreen. Like there's the ones that just block the sun, obviously. And so they use zinc oxide and titanium oxide, which makes it a mineral sunscreen. So I'm allergic to chemical sunscreen. So like all the other things that they use to block the sun, I can't wear. I have to wear the ones that you smear on, you just look like a ghost.
But the one thing you've noticed that you don't work with is aloe, which is probably what they use to moisturize your skin. My
suspicion is it's the aloe because last year when I was having a really bad allergic reaction, I didn't realize it was an allergic reaction at first. I thought it was a sunburn. And so then I covered myself in aloe and then it got worse and worse and worse days after. So I haven't used aloe since. Anyway, so they've added a couple things into their formula. This is the only sunscreen that I found that I'm not allergic to. And one of the things that they've added is aloe and the other one is calendula, something like that. I just went and bought, I'm on a sunscreen test journey now. So I thought that their sheer one, their regular one has those ingredients. The sheer one doesn't. So I thought I was buying the sheer one, but apparently I was buying sheer face, and sheer face has all of the same ingredients that I'm already allergic to. So I'm gonna do one smear of this. I'm going to do like 4 different parts of my arm with 4 different sunscreens and figure out what I'm allergic to. And then before we go to the beach, like tomorrow or the next day, which you can't swim.
I can watch.
Which is sad. We'll find out maybe what I'm allergic to.
Well, I'm gonna take the Live Clean because that's my competitor. That's the one I think you should use.
The baby sunscreens seem to be where it's at, except some of them contain aloe and calendula, but these 3 seem to not. So if I don't have any reaction to these 3, then I know for a fact it's one of those 2 ingredients. So I'm gonna do...
Well, that's pretty.
We have to keep track
That's
of this.
sparkly.
Baby sunbum.
Yellow monkey, white monkey, Live Clean.
Because I'm still gonna do this one on the other arm because this is the one that I know I'm allergic to.
Oh, that was too, you're already allergic. You're leaking everywhere. Oh my lord.
Why is it so goopy? We just dropped Liam off at the movies at 9:45 at night.
For a 3-hour movie.
So I have to stay up late. You're covered in sunscreen at 10 o'clock at night.
I know.
Baby, regular, Live.
Lizard.
Okay, 1 hour in. Actually, no, it's only been half an hour. Look at this raised and bumpy red one. That is the
Live Clean.
Live Clean. So super allergic to that one. Because the control one that I know I'm allergic to, nothing's even happening yet. It's now the next day. I have to do a voiceover for this because it was so incredibly windy. I didn't even want to try to vlog at the beach, but I wanted to give you a quick update. We stopped at this really cute cafe and got dirty sodas, and mine was delicious. And an update on my allergic reactions. I did have something happen with everything that I tried except for the sun bum. So I'm officially committed to the sun bum, and I just need to look at the ingredients and figure out what the exact thing that is in all of them except the sun bomb, but I haven't done that quite yet. Before we went to the beach, I got to 13 chapters into Romantic Heroes. This is about this woman who has a writing career and she's in a little bit of a slump. After losing her sister and really not being able to confront that, she pours all of her life into her partner, and then they break up. So she's really spiraling and she's lacking inspiration for her career. So she's kind of losing everything at once, but it is a lot more lighthearted than it sounds like it would be. It was fun and it was quirky, the writing style at the beginning. And after a very quick introduction, she comes home one day and there is a cowboy sitting on her couch, and he is the one from the book series that she has been writing, who she's trying to find inspiration for the next installment in the series, and she doesn't know what to do with these characters. She's getting pressure from her publisher. She just decides to hang out with this guy, and eventually she's going to get inspiration for her novel, but they're both trying to figure out where he came from, how he got there. It's a very funny setup, but very stressful for everybody involved. As always with me, I have read the synopsis at some point, obviously, but have now forgotten what it says. And it says that she strikes a deal with this character from her book about getting her ex jealous. So something that's really typical in this type of story and with fake dating in general is when they're using each other and it's to like get back with the old partner. But obviously the whole point and the expected ending is that she's going to realize that she actually wants the cowboy, the new guy. And she has to come to this realization on her own. But then also the old guy that she's trying to chase is probably by the end of the book going to try to get back with her. Like that's how they always end. So it's that typical kind of story, but something that's unexpected is that he's not like the love interest of the novel. It's called Romantic Hero, but he is not the romantic hero of the book she's been writing. He's in fact not the villain, because that would be like a little crazy, but he's like this side character who she wrote to be an antagonist. And when he pops up into her life, he's not just this book character who the only thoughts that he has are from her and what she's written. He has like extra little elements to his personality that she didn't write into the book. So he's like, I'm a real person. I come from a real reality, and like it just so happens that it matches what you wrote in your books. But so obviously like two things can be true at the same time. He is the book character, but also it's like he has his own reality. And I think that's really fun because in a lot of books like this, or even kind of like sentient object romances, the character or the object of desire has very little personality because they're just someone's like creation, or most of their life is spent not having a personality. But in this, like, he has a really thorough background that even she doesn't know about. So that's something fun and interesting, is we already know how he came out of the book, but now we don't know why their stories for him like don't actually match up. So there are familiar elements, but there's unexpected elements, and I think that makes it really fun. I did just finish Romantic Hero, and this feels like a 4-star. Pretty easy 4-star to give out. I would definitely recommend it. I loved Love of My Afterlife, which is why I put this on my TBR to begin with. I just love when authors are doing a little speculative stuff in a romance. This was the most lighthearted that I've read all week, for sure. There was no big drama. There was no big conflict. It wasn't laugh out loud funny. Once we hit the second part, like, the opening bit was funny, and I always wonder if, like, when I'm reading British authors, if it's just because, like, the vibe of it, or even the narrator, the audiobook, kind of sounds like Bridget Jones, or like, I don't know, Louise Renison, or like Sophie Kinsella, that I just kind of feel that nostalgic, like, lighthearted, funny thing that I was constantly reading in my teen years. But the opening first third definitely felt like that. The vibes were very funny and very silly. I think it was her interactions with other people at the beginning. There was a lot of funny interactions and confrontations that made me laugh. And then once the romantic interest got introduced, and that took over the story, it wasn't so lighthearted and funny, but it was generally like peaceful and soft. I really like the steamy scene, because I always say I want them to be a little bit funny, or just not take themselves so seriously. And because I think she took the relationship pretty seriously as the book went on, I liked that there was different vibes throughout. There was a nice little horseback riding scene. It was ultimately one of those books where a woman getting into a relationship, like, it's important for her and her personal growth. Like, the relationship is what helps her realize her worth and what she wants out of a relationship and who she wants to be, and stops being such a people pleaser. That's just such a typical situation to find ourselves in when it's a little bit of a speculative romance. Also, something fun about the audiobook that I listened to on and off, it's told in duet, but he doesn't get chapters. Like, so I don't know if it's really called, no, I think it's still called being, like, narrated in duet, because anytime he has dialogue, the male audiobook narrator pops in. And I love that. Even though he wasn't a character who was narrating the story, he never had his own chapters or anything, it would pop in like that. I appreciate when an audiobook does that, because it takes the extra effort to produce, for sure, costs more money. I think I'm always just, like, surprised by the books that seem to have a higher production budget than others, because, like, why this one? Is it a specific author? Is it the specific publisher? I don't know what makes them decide who gets that. There are still audiobooks these days that are narrated terribly. Anyway, I had a really nice time with it. It's definitely what I needed as far as tone at this point in the vlog. And tomorrow I am going to squeeze in one more, and I just kept thinking, like, what are you going to want me to read? What do you want me to pick? What's the best thing that I could do? And I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to pick what I want, which is what I said I was going to do at the beginning. And it's another speculative romance, my friends. It's not one that was on my TBR shelf to begin with, but I did knock 2 of those off. I did 2 arcs, and this is going to be our second aardvark book, because I want to read about this woman going back to her college days and trying to get the guy, which is her, like, best friend, I'm pretty sure, as an adult. Like, they've been friends for forever, and she's like, oh, if I could go back and tell him everything that I wish I had told him back in college, we'd be together now. But I think when she goes back, she ends up falling for the guy that she never expected, a guy that she thinks she hates. And I just think that that vibe is going to be really fun. Of course, this 5-star feeling had to wait until the very last book of the video. I don't want to get too set on it, but this really feels like it could be a 5-star. It's, of course, the typical story that I just love so much, which is why it's been on my most anticipated 26 of 2026 since, like, however, sometime last year. A woman dies with life regrets and gets a chance to do it over again. This feels a little bit different because a lot of times in this scenario, there's multiple resets. But in this case, she chooses one time to go back to, and she's going to relive life all over again, but with all of the knowledge that she has. She's really successful in her law career, but she's like 32, I think. And she's gotten everything that she's wanted as far as her career, but she has kind of sacrificed her social life, her love life, and kind of expected everything just to fall into place because a lot of things for her career has worked out for her. So she was like, I need to focus on this and everything else will just work out, but it never did. And she's been pining over her best friend for like 14 years. So she goes back to their first meeting and she does it differently. And she lets him know right off the bat that she's interested. The thing is, this guy is not interested in her as an adult. Like, they're best friends and he cares a lot about their friendship and he thinks the same of her because she's never explored her feelings at all or explained them to him because he's been in different relationships and he's done whatever else and they're just not like compatible in that way. But she decides they are. And so she kind of goes for it. Of course, because the synopsis talks about another guy being involved, we kind of know it's going to be either a love triangle or it's more obviously going to be the story where she realizes like this is just not the guy for her. And so she has to see and we have to watch as this guy, even when she's putting herself out there and like, you know, when you have never had a relationship, you've never been intimate with someone, when someone is coming on so strong, you're probably going to be like, yeah, okay, like maybe this is the person for me, but he's still, this is just not the girl for him. And it's hard to watch. It's also hard to watch because at the same time, it's like she's kind of sacrificing her career because she's not going to suddenly go, like this is it. She's reset her entire, like this entire portion of her life. It's not like she changes one thing and then is transported back to her own reality she's in. She's reliving all of these 14 years. And she knows what she liked and what she didn't and what she had fun with and like what classes she doesn't want to take again because she retained the knowledge. But if she doesn't take the same classes and she doesn't go after the same internship, she's not going to end up in the law career that she's happy in. So it's like she's ruining every little bit of it all at the same time. And we know she's not going to get another chance. But the thing is, there's this guy and their dynamic. Oh, it's so good. So obviously everything else is going to work out, I'm sure. Maybe it's going to be one of those stories where like we slowly realize that the career wasn't actually what she wanted and she gets to explore different life paths. And it's not that love is all you need, but because she's going to go in a different direction with a different relationship, I think it's going to affect every other portion of her life. The relationships, friendships that she has left behind, maybe connecting with different teachers, different students, different mentors. And we're just really in it with her. A quarter of the way through, I love the style of it. I love the little bit of banter she has with this one character. And it's not overly stressful, even though like the way I'm explaining it is like, oh my God, I keep worrying about the things that are going to happen. She's not worried about anything. I think because she is so confident in her career, and that's the one thing she's been so successful at, she has this air about her coming into this environment surrounded by younger people, like her peers back in the day, and we see how immature they all are, that she just seems so self-assured and like everything is going to kind of work out for her. And even stopping to tell you this update is painful because I want to keep reading it so bad, like unputdownable. And that's what Joss Richard said too. I absolutely couldn't put it down. Okay, I am still loving this book. There's one element that feels a little like, I don't know about like reading about this 30-something-year-old woman interacting with all these 18-year-olds. She is bringing it up and like talking about it for sure and kind of the implications of it in a way that like when I'm watching something like Freaky Friday or 17 again, when people are interacting with someone who's like a weird age for them to be interacting with, I'm like, ugh. But here's the thing. I feel very strongly that the book is going to, just based on, I don't know, just based on certain things, I feel like the book is going to write that It's not a mistake. It's not an error. It's not something wrong with the book. I just feel like it's gonna like make sense. Like I think there's something that is to come. And if it's not to come, like what are we doing? I'm gonna be disappointed. And I think the author like wants us to know that something is coming. Anyway, I think this book is perfectly paced. The timing of everything is fantastic. There is family drama and it's perfectly placed and the perfect amount where there's like issues with various people and there's arguments, but that's not the bulk of the story, is navigating those relationships. It is her own personal self journey and romantic journey, which is exactly what I want to be reading right now. I didn't even mention how she got into this scenario to begin with. She died. And that's why she gets to give another go to her life. There was also a perfectly placed like flashback that's kind of a flash forward. No, you wouldn't call it a flash forward because now she's changing her entire like life story. So it's a flashback to get some more backstory about something that happened. And I feel like that was really needed. And I might have even liked more of that. And this book has a little bit of steam, which I'm also really liking. And I feel like we're kind of gearing up right here for another moment. I thought this wouldn't happen until like the last chapter. Oh my God. As always, but especially with this book, I feel the need to say it was a 5-star for me. I don't think it would be a 5-star for everybody. In fact, I don't think this would be a 5-star for most. But like I've said a handful of times over the past couple years that this exact story has come into my life, I almost always love it no matter how it goes. Just always love seeing a character go back and try to right their wrongs or what they presume are wrongs. But in a lot of cases, they don't actually change things like for the world in any meaningful way. And so I think a lot of readers could be unsatisfied, especially with how this grown woman is interacting with and like manipulating a lot of these 18-year-olds. She thinks she knows what's best for them and she wants all of their lives to go a certain way. So she's kind of like dictating life for them. In the end, it ends up being more about her and we're focused on not where all of their lives have gone and what she's messed up or perfected for them, but about her own journey. She is pretty self-involved and I think a lot of people would use this opportunity differently, but she just does what she feels like in the moment, is constantly kind of messing things up. It wasn't super like fun and quirky when I thought like it could go that direction, but based on how it looks, it is as sentimental and like, I guess as over dramatic at times as you might expect it to be. I just really enjoyed it. What can I say? And there's a cat character that was perfect. There's a lot of ways that this book could have done things just slightly differently that it would have been perfect and widely accepted by like everybody. But for me, this was a 5-star. Thank you so much for joining me for this vlog. I'm so glad it ended here. Oh, and now we can do a quick update. Oh my gosh, to all the categories. Okay, so at the beginning of the year, I updated all of these categories, my favorite things. We have games and competitions, resetting reality, plays with time. Those are 2 different things, distinct. You can go watch my update video. I'll link it down below if you want to know. It's clear what the differences are, but like I'll talk it all through. Books related to death, non-urgent apocalypse, romantic relationships with common goals and high stakes is how I've decided to phrase that one. People reconnecting, isolated institutions, dreams meet reality, fake dating, workplace dysfunction, media commentary, nature settings, women's love prevails, weddings, informative memoirs, getting control of magic, shared consciousness, book-related books, and obsession. And now we can pull all the books at the bottom and put them into their categories because this is everything that I've given 5 stars this year. I would put both The Geomagician and A Rivalry of Hearts up into the romantic relationships with common goals and high stakes. The people have things in common, and it's a historical setting like a lot of these have. They're similar personalities or similar interests. Then, of course, with our obsession category, we can put Paradise Logic and Best Offer Wins, because she's obsessed with being the perfect girlfriend, and the woman in Best Offer Wins is obsessed with getting the house of her dreams. For media commentary, I have the 2000s Made Me Gay. That fits perfectly in there. And then we have Resetting Reality and Plays with Time. And we have, let's see, Yesteryear, The Other Side of Now, The Deja Glitch, and Every Version of You. So I think Yesteryear plays with time. The Other Side of Now also plays with time because it's alternate dimension, but the Deja Glitch is specifically resetting a day, and Every Version of You is resetting life as well. I could also put Vigil up in related to death, because it's not just like books where people die, but it's books where, you know, this is in the afterlife. But also then a lot of my resetting reality when the people die and it is an afterlife should go into related to death, but I'm going to leave them separate. And then I don't know if any of these I have a category that I feel like they would go into. A lot of them are just general fiction, and the romance here doesn't fit into the couple kind of romance themes that I have. But if you notice something that I am not noticing, please let me know. Thank you so much for watching this vlog. I'm glad I got to update the categories a little bit, and I will see you in another one soon. Bye!